everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make that sequin top that you've seen at the beginning of the video. The sequins are totally optional. You can see in this image without the sequins and then with the sequins. So you're going to decide for yourself whether you want the sequins on or not. So for this project you will need some materials, and that is the measuring tape. This is a must because we are going to take our bust circumference, and that will be the measurement that we are going to base on to make this top fitted. And then you will also need an iron. This is optional. I'll be letting you know what to use it for. Generally just ironing the fringes to make them more flat and more clean, as opposed to having them a bit rugged. And then you also need a pair of scissors, a darning needle to weave in your ends. You will need a small thread as well as a small needle that can go through the little hole of the sequin. So this brings us to our next item. You'll also need some sort of accessories. It could be buttons, it could be sequins, whatever you decide to put, maybe beads. This is me just giving you some options to work with in case you don't have the same exact sequins as mine. So this is mine, and I am very sure that this small needle can go through the little hole of the sequin that I'm going to use. So you'll need several of these. I have like quarter a pack left, and this is just enough to take me through my project. The hook that I used for my project was a 3mm crochet hook. This is a 3mm. And then the yarn that I used is Alize Cotton Gold. I used roughly half or 3/4 of a ball, so I didn't use the whole ball of yarn. This yarn is about 330 meters, 361 yards. And it recommends 2 to 4mm crochet hook. So I took the middle point and I used a 3mm crochet hook. So this is a blend of cotton and acrylic. It is 55% cotton and 45% acrylic, and it's perfect for summer. If you can get a hold of this yarn, please try it out, give it a try, you won't be disappointed. So in this image, our top is paired with the granny stitch crochet skirt that's already on the channel, and we already have a pattern for it as well. And then in this image, it's paired with the crochet layered skirt that we just did in our previous video. So make sure you check the description box. It will be having all the related projects that I have worked on, so that you can get yourself a matching set if you wish. So the written pattern for this top is also available on all my online shops. I'll be leaving a link somewhere on the screen as well as the description box, and let's get into the video. So you're going to grab your yarn, whatever yarn that you've decided to use, and your 3mm. You can use any yarn and any hook recommended for the yarn that you decide to use. So you're going to start off with a slip knot. So the way I do that, let me make this video a bit beginner friendly. So you twist over your yarn like this, insert your hook, grab the working yarn, and then yarn over, pull through, and then you pull on the tail. Okay, so that's our slip knot. You're going to make a chain of 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that counts as a double crochet, chain 1. And now we're going to go into this very last chain, and you're going to place a total of 4 double crochets. So for a double crochet, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And then do that again 3 more times. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then this is the 4th, This pattern is explained in US terms, and the first chain 3 of the row counts as one of the stitches. So far we have a total of 5 double crochets, including the chain 3 at the beginning. So I forgot to mention that you'll need some stitch markers. You can have 1 or 2 just in case you need them. So we're going on to row 2, and before we do that, you're going to count the chain 3 as one of the stitches, 1, 2, and into the third you're going to place a stitch marker. So that's the very middle stitch of our row, and then we have 2 stitches on this side. So let's go on to row 2. For row 2, you're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work. We're going to create an increase at the beginning of the row by placing a double crochet. I hope you still remember how to do that. You yarn over and go into this very first stitch, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So we've created an increase here because this chain 3 is also coming from the same exact stitch. Then into the next stitch, you're going to place a double crochet, only 1. And that brings us to the middle stitch with the stitch marker. You're going to remove your stitch marker from here and then place a total of 3 double crochets into the same stitch that had the stitch marker. So this is the second, and then this is the third. And then you're going to replace the stitch marker into the middle double crochet of the 3 stitches that you just placed. Then you're going to go into the next stitch with 1 double crochet and into the top of the last chain 3 you're going to go in there with 2 double crochets. So that way we will have increased both at the beginning of the row and at the end of the row. So this is what you're going to have, and since the chain 3 at the beginning of the row counts as a stitch, you will have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches after the stitch with the stitch marker. And also on this side we have 1, 2, 3 and the chain 3, which is the 4th. So we have the same exact number of stitches on either side of the stitch with the stitch marker. Make sure you take note of that. So we're going on to row 3, and it's basically going to be the same as row 2. You're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work. You're going to create an increase in the very first stitch by placing a double crochet there. So that counts as 2 double crochets into the very first stitch because the chain 3 counts as a double crochet. And then you're going to go into each of the next stitches with 1 double crochet until you place a double crochet in the stitch before the stitch marker. So we have 1, the chain 3 counts as one of the stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is the stitch with the stitch marker. You're going to remove it, and then into that stitch that had the stitch marker, you're going to place a total of 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to replace the stitch marker into the middle stitch of the 3 stitches that you just placed. And then you're going to place 1 double crochet in each of the next stitches until the second last stitch. And then that will bring us to the last stitch, which is the chain 3, and on top of it you're going to place a total of 2 double crochets, and that will ensure that we have increased both at the beginning and at the end of the row. So you can see the similarity that we've got for row 3 as compared to what we did on row 2. So that is the row that we are going to keep repeating. I'm going to repeat this one more time so that we know exactly what to do, and then I'll leave you guys to keep working and also give instructions on what to consider. So for row 4, you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, double crochet in the very first stitch to create an increase, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next stitches until you place a double crochet in the stitch before the one with the stitch marker. and then you remove the stitch marker from the middle stitch of the previous row. In that same stitch, you're going to place a total of 3 double crochets. And then you're going to replace the stitch marker into that middle stitch of the 3 stitches that you just placed. And then you're going to place 1 double crochet in each of the next stitches until the second last stitch. That will bring us to the very last stitch, which is the chain 3 at the end of the previous row, and you're going to go on top of it with a total of 2 double crochets. Alright, so this is the row that we're going to keep repeating again and again until... Alright, so I went ahead to repeat row 2 until I had the base of my piece measure quarter of the bust circumference when slightly stretched. As you can see, I have about 7.5 without stretching, and when I slightly stretch it, it goes to 8.5. You're going to make sure you don't overstretch. So you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. This is going to be our very first panel, and you're going to repeat the same exact process for the second one. You do the same exact number of rows for the second one, and now you're going to have something like this. Now for the second one, you're not going to cut your yarn. You're going to put it on this side, and then the one which you cut, the loose end of the very first panel, you're going to use it to attach the 2 pieces together. So go into the last stitch here and the top of the chain 3 on the opposite panel and make a slip stitch, and then make a chain of 1 and fasten it off. So once the 2 pieces are joined, we're going to continue to increase on the sides of our top, but we're going to stop increasing at this point here. So for our next row, which is going to be the row that we keep repeating again and again, you're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work. So we're going to work this row while running across both panels. So for the very first stitch, you're going to go in there with a double crochet, and then you're going to continue to place 1 double crochet in each and every stitch across the very first panel. So don't forget, this time in the middle of the panel, we are not going to increase. So we're just going to go into each and every stitch, placing 1 double crochet. So you can see we've reached the middle of the panel, and I'm just going into each and every stitch with only 1 double crochet this time. No increase in the middle of the panel. And then continue to place 1 double crochet in each and every stitch until the midsection where the 2 panels meet, and I'll show you what to do. So we're coming to the end of the first panel. We're going to go into the very last stitch. Make sure you go into it, that very last stitch, and then go into the first stitch of the opposite panel with a double crochet, and then continue to double crochet in each and every stitch until the end of the row. All right, so we've made it all the way across, And in the very last stitch, which should be the top of the chain 3, you're going to go in there with 2 double crochets. And this is what you should have. You should see your top kind of curving. That's because there is tension at the point where we were placing increases before. So that's why it's kind of curving, and don't try to straighten it out. So you're going to continue to do this until your underbust, or for as long as you want your top to be before you start creating the mesh pattern. So for the next row, just like we did for the previous one, you're going to make a chain of 3, and then you turn your work. Into the very first stitch, you're going to place a double crochet, and then continue to double crochet once in each and every stitch until the second last stitch. And then on top of the last chain 3, you will place 2 double crochets. So you're going to just repeat that row again and again until the underbust, or the length that you want for your top, and I'll meet you back when I have mine ready. Alright guys, we ended up doing a total of 5 rows running across both panels, and this is what you should have. You should have something that creates room for the bust, as you can see here. So we are now, once you're at the underbust level, you're going to start working on the mesh pattern of your piece. So you're going to make a chain of 1 and turn your work. Single crochet into the same exact stitch, which is the very first stitch, and then make a chain of 5, skip 2, and then single crochet into the next stitch, chain 5, skip 2 stitches, and single crochet into the next. So we're going to repeat that all the way across. Until you have a few stitches left to the end of the row. So this is what you're going to have. So we're coming to the end of the row, as you can see here. Chain 5, skip 2 stitches, 1 single crochet into the next. All right, so we've come to the end of the row. I have about 1, 2, 3, and 4 stitches left. I'm going to just make a chain of 5 and just make sure that I end with a single crochet into the last stitch. So this is what we are going to have. Now you're going to make a chain of 1 and turn your work. This is going to be row 2 of the mesh pattern. You're going to slip stitch into the very first chain 5 loop 2 times, and then make a chain of 1 and single crochet. So this will place the single crochet in the middle of the chain 5 loop, then make a chain of 5 and single crochet into the next chain 5 loop, chain 5, single crochet into the next chain 5 loop. So you're going to repeat that all the way across until you have only 1 loop left, and then I'll show you how to wind up row 2 of the mesh pattern. So we're coming to the end of the row, and I have only one loop left. Now I'm going to make a chain of 5, and this time I'm going to go into the chain 3, the third chain of the chain 5 loop with a single crochet, just like that, and then that marks the end of row 2. Now we're going to keep repeating row 2. You make a chain of 1 and turn your work, slip stitch into the first chain 5 loop 2 times, chain 1, single crochet into the same loop, and then chain 5. You go back to the original pattern of creating loops, chain 5, single crochet into the space. So you're going to repeat that until towards the end, where you will place, you'll make a chain of 5 and place a single crochet into the third chain of the last chain 5 loop, and keep repeating that row again and again, and I'll show you the effect that it will create after creating a few rows. Alright guys, as you keep working row 2 of the mesh pattern, you're going to notice that your mesh pattern is shrinking towards the midsection. So the number of loops is going to keep reducing and reducing every other row, and it keeps decreasing by 2. So as we keep working, it's going to point downwards in this angle. So I'm going to keep working, and another thing, if you have a problem locating where to end your row, you should always mark, let me say at the end here, after placing your single crochet in the chain, in the third chain of the last chain 5 loop, you're going to make a chain of 1, turn your work, and then slip stitch 2 times in the first chain 5 loop, chain 1, single crochet into the same, and then chain 5 and single crochet into the next chain 5 loop. You're going to always mark the very first chain 5 loop, and that will be the very last loop of the next row, because sometimes it may be tricky to see where to end your row. So you mark that one and then go on with your pattern as usual. Chain 5, single, and go all the way across, just as we've been doing before. But this is how our piece is looking like. The color is very vibrant and beautiful. And let me go ahead and keep working row 2 and keep growing my mesh pattern as it reduces and decreases on both ends towards the midsection. So we want a pointed look eventually. Alright guys, as you can see, our mesh pattern is almost coming to the tip. So I'm continuing to work the same exact pattern until I run out of chain 5 loops. So now I have 2 loops left on my row. And along the way I switched to just placing 1 slip stitch instead of 2. So chain 1, turn, slip stitch once in the first chain 5 loop, chain 1, single crochet into the same loop, and then make a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this is the very last loop of the previous row. I'm going to go into the third chain. Alright guys, for the last loop, instead of making a chain of 5 and single crocheting into the chain 3 space, you're going to just make a chain of 2, as you can see here. Make a chain of 2, and into the chain 3, the third chain of the last chain 5 loop, you're going to place a double crochet. That is going to ensure that this tail is in the middle section of the last loop. So you're going to make a chain of 1 and fasten off. So you can see the difference between what we had before and what we have now. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do is to create the straps as well as the edging at the top of our project. So you're going to start off with a slip knot, and you're going to make a chain of 4, double crochet into the very first chain. So we're going to first work on the strap that's going to join onto this corner. Chain 3, go in between the 2 stitches below. So into that space, you're going to make a double crochet, chain 3, and double crochet in between the 2 stitches below. So I'm going to do that until I have a total of about 30 segments for my strap. So far I have 1, 2, 3, 4 segments, and I want a total of 30 just to create a long enough strap. Alright, so I've made a total of 30 segments, but you can make it longer if you wish. So we're going to attach it into this corner right before the mesh pattern started. So you're going to attach it with a slip stitch, and we're going to clean up the edge using scallop stitch. I usually do this for my edges. So it's going to be very subtle, but it is going to create a very large difference. If you doubt, first take a screenshot of this, and then you'll also see the final result after placing the edge. Now we're going to make a chain of 3, and into that very first row, you're going to go in there with a total of 3 double crochets, just like that, and then single crochet into the next row, and then single crochet into the next row, and then make a chain of 3 and 3 more double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and then single crochet into the next row, make a single crochet, and then into the next row you're going to place 1 single crochet, chain 3, and 1 more single crochet, and 3 more double crochets. So 1 single crochet, chain 3, 3 more double crochets into the same row. Into the next row you're going to place a single crochet, into the next row place a single crochet, chain 3, and 3 more double crochets into the same row. So that way we're going to create this beautiful scalloped edge. You're going to do that all the way up until the top corner of the first break up. So I'm going to make one more scallop into the last row here. 1, 2, and 3. And then on top I'm going to place a single crochet there, and this is what we are going to have on along the first side, and you can see how beautiful and finished it looks as opposed to what we had before, which is this. So which side do you prefer? Let me know down in the comment section. And let's go onto the second side of our very first brack up. So you're going to just mirror exactly what we had on this side. So since the very first row has a scallop, you're going to go into that same row on the opposite side and place a single crochet, chain 3, and 3 double crochets into the same exact row, so that we have the same exact thing going on. And then we're going to go back to our pattern, single crochet into the next row, and into the next row you're going to place a single crochet, chain 3, 3 more double crochets into the same row, single crochet into the next row, and into the next, single crochet, chain 3, and 3 more double crochets into the same row. So you're going to do that until you get to the exact middle of your top. So right now we are moving downwards, as you can see. We are moving down to the center of our piece. So we are on the last row before the joining of the 2 brack ups, and I'm placing a single crochet there. And now we're crossing over to the opposite side. So since we have a single crochet in the last row here, so that means in the first row on the opposite side you're going to place a single crochet, just like that, just to balance exactly what we have on the opposite side. Then in the next row we're going to start creating our scallop, single, chain 3, and double crochet 3 times into the same row. So we're going to go back to our pattern. Of creating the scallops. Oh my God. Alright guys, I've made it all the way up, and I've done the same exact thing that I did for this side. That's why we have a balanced look, as you can see here. Now I'm going to go all the way down until the corner. Okay, so I've just placed my very last scallop, as you can see here. And now I'm going to go into the corner with a single crochet. And then we're going to create our second strap on the opposite side, just as we have here. We're going to repeat the same exact process. So make a chain of 3, and into that space you're going to go in there with a double crochet, and now you're going to start just creating different segments for your strap so that it's the same exact length as our very first strap. So I have 30 segments for my first strap. I'll make sure I have the same number of segments for my second one. I hope you still remember how to do it. Chain 3 and double crochet in the space between the 2 stitches below. So I'm going to teach you a new way of making beautiful straps for the upper straps. That's why I haven't gone with this method. This one is only for the straps below, the ones that hold the underbust. Then for the upper straps, we're going to introduce something even cuter than this. Alright, so we are done with the second strap, and as you can see, we have the general structure, but we don't have the straps at the top yet. So I'm going to try out this design that I just learned recently, and we see how it works out. It's just a try and error. If it works, it works. So I'm going to attach my yarn at the top of my project, at the top of the bra cup. Attach your yarn and make a chain of 3. Actually, make a chain of 2 and make a total of 6 double crochets. So the chain of 2 counts as one of the stitches. So in total, we shall have a total of 7 double crochets, including the chain 2. So from here, you're going to make a chain of 2 and slip stitch into the same exact space. Just like that. Now you're going to make a chain of 2 and turn your work. Into that chain 2 space, you're going to go in there with 6 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you're going to make a chain of 2 and slip stitch into the same, into this double crochet here. Make a slip stitch and then make a chain of 2 and turn your work. Into the chain 2 space here, you're going to go in there with a total of 6 double crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then make a chain of 2 and slip stitch into the next double crochet. Chain 2, turn your work. Into the chain 2 space, place a total of 6 double crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Make a chain of 2 and slip stitch into the next double crochet. Chain 2 and turn your work. So that's all that we are going to keep repeating, and you can see how beautiful the strap looks like. You're going to keep repeating this for a short distance because I don't want this design to go all the way to the back of the neck. This is going to be just a short distance, and then we shall move into the chain that's going to tie behind the neck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chain 2, slip stitch, chain 2, turn your work, and keep working your strap. I'll let you know how many times that I ended up doing, or the length that I considered, before stopping to create this beautiful pattern. 1 2 3 4 5 6. So you can see how our strap is growing. It's growing, but with detail. So this is also blending in well with our scalloped edge. You can see the shape is really matching with the strap. I'm glad I went with this edging because it's playing out nicely. It looks well finished, well planned. So I can't wait to see the finished look of this piece now. Alright guys, I considered for the strap, as long as I'm going to count 1 2 3 4 5, and then 1 2 3 4 5. Once I have 5 scallops on both ends, then I'm going to finish up my last one by chaining 2 and slip stitching into the next double crochet, and then from there I'm going to make a chain of 3, turn my work to the right side, after a chain of 3 into the same space, you're going to make a double crochet, chain 3, double crochet into the space below. So we've gone back to our original strap. That's exactly what we are bringing back. Chain 3, double crochet in the space between the previous 2 stitches, chain 3, double crochet. So this is the excess that's going to go behind the neck and tie. So you can see this is all part of the strap, but this part is going to tie behind the neck. And I'm going to do about 15 segments of this. So far I have 1 2 3 4 5. I want a total of 15, so 10 more. And then I will repeat the same exact process on the opposite side. Alright guys, I ended up doing a total of 20 segments instead of 15, and you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn, pull through, and you're going to attach your yarn here at this point and repeat the same exact process as we have on this side. So just attach your yarn and then make a chain of 2 and start creating your strap the same exact way that you have done your very first one. Alright, so this is what our top looks like. Both the straps are finished, and you're going to just make sure you get rid of all the loose ends on your piece, either by using a darning needle or by tying knots. Do whatever suits you, and I'll be back when I have a clean finish for my piece. This is what we have so far. Okay guys, after getting rid of all the loose ends, I've cut some strands of yarn, and this is going to form the fringe at the base of the mesh pattern. My strands measure about 15 inches, as you can see here. Now I'm going to get 3 strands. 3 strands of yarn, and I'm going to be attaching them along the sides of the mesh pattern. So let me put these aside. I'm going to start with the very first space here, and I'm going to attach my fringe. Just follow the same exact instructions. So this is the very first fringe attached, and then I'll skip 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the 5th I will place my next fringe. So you can space them out the way you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll place mine in the 5th. You can skip 3, you can skip 5, depending on the look that you're going for. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the 5th. I'm getting 3 strands for each and every fringe. So down here I will have a total of 6 strands because the strands are folded into half. So you're going to do that all the way down your top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just try to space them out evenly. So another thing is I'm going to place one at the very tip, and for me it works in my favor because I have some loops before the exact middle. So I'm going to attach this fringe here at the tip of the pointed part. The pointed part of the top should get a fringe. Just make sure you do that. So this is going to kind of balance and look symmetrical. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same exact process on the opposite side, starting from the side corner all the way down. Alright guys, after attaching your fringe, I have my iron here. I'm going to iron them out a little bit so that they are more on the straight side. This is totally optional. I have my hair iron here and I'm waiting for it to warm up so that I can go in with straightening the fringes. So let's wait a little bit. I think, yeah, I have to turn it on from here. So I'm going to just give it about 5 minutes and then we shall make the fringes straight to give them a better look. But if you don't mind this look, actually this yarn is really favorable, and it's not really bad like pure acrylic, because this can also hold up the straightness of the yarn, but some of the yarn may be a little bit folded and it may give a nasty look. So for me, I'm going to iron them out, and yeah, I think it's warm enough. We're going to see the difference that this is going to create. I love the fact that it's pink inside. The fact that this is 55% cotton and 45% acrylic, this should be okay to iron. Okay, so we're going to iron out like this. Take your time. You can do it 2 times. I hope my iron is hot enough. So this is going to thin out the strand to make it lightweight and a bit thin, and you see the difference that this is creating as opposed to what we had before. So that's the big difference. So put in the little effort in order to get your piece to look like mine or look professional. I prefer this 1,000 times. So once you've done ironing, you can cut off those excess strands of yarn, and you're going to go onto each and every fringe. And make sure it's ironed. Okay. So this is what we have. I'm going to go onto the opposite side, right from here onto all the fringes, and we shall see the final look of our piece. All right, guys, this is what we have. I'm very excited, by the way. At this point, your top is ready to wear, but if you want some more accessorizing, we're going to go ahead and place some sequins on the top part of our design. That is totally optional. So I'll be having both images of the plain version as well as the sequin version, and let me know down in the comment section which version you liked better. So I'm going to first take some images of this version before we transform it into something even more bedazzled. So look what we have. This is what we have right now. Let's see how it looks like, and then we can go ahead and go on to our next step of accessorizing this piece even further. All right, guys, this is what we have for now. It's going to keep spinning. I just want to give you a 360 of our design at the moment. You can see the back is open, perfect for summer or those warm, breezy days. And right now it's paired with the crochet layered skirt that we already have on the channel. This has a tutorial and a pattern, and I'll be leaving it in the description box below. So that's what we have at the moment. Let me know what you guys think so far. This looks so beautiful. I think let me first stop the spinning so that we can focus on how beautiful the front side and the details look like. I'm just feeling bad that I don't have a matching color for the bottom, but I believe anyone can understand. So this is what we have. It looks very pretty on body, and you can see how our straps look very detailed. And yeah, this can be where you leave your top, but for us we are going to go ahead and accessorize with some sequins on the upper side of the piece, and we shall come back and see what everything looks like from there. Alright guys, it's time for us to add some bling to our design, and I have these golden sequins. I believe they're going to get the job done. Just look at the gold against the orange. It's going to be very, very colorful and reflecting at the end of the day. So I'm also having very small thread that I can use to attach. Unfortunately, I don't have the orange color. I have black, white, and maroon, and I'm going to go with the maroon color because I don't think it will go through the orange. So I've threaded some maroon thread onto my very little darning needle, and you're going to make sure that this darning needle can go through that small hole of the sequin. And we're going to start attaching. You can take this away. Alternatively, by the way, you can also get a strand of yarn of the same exact color. I don't want to go through the hassle, but you can try to separate the strands of yarn until you get only until you have only one strand of yarn. As you can see here, this is very thin, and you can use it for your attaching of the sequins. But I noticed it's quite weak, so while I was separating, it kind of broke. So I'll go with whatever I have available. So I'm going to use this maroon shade to attach my sequins. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to place one sequin at the very top, somewhere around here, and I'm going to keep alternating the placement. So you're going to get several sequins. I have a full, almost quarter pack left, and I've used this for some of my previous designs. I feel like it has given me a very satisfying look, so that's why I keep coming back to them. And I hope by the time I want some more, my supplier still has some. So I'm going to secure this. Just make sure you don't over tighten. I'm going to leave it a bit loose so that it can hang. Okay, so let me go ahead and make my knot. Okay. All right, so once I have this in place, I'm going to push my yarn to the back, something like this, and then we get another sequin. I'll be skipping one row, and then along the top edge of the next row, that's where I'll be placing my next one. So I'm going to go through that hole and make sure you don't distort the shape of the top. So this is going to kind of create a rough sort of look at the back of the top, because we have a contrasting color. Definitely these strands are going to be running at the back, but we don't care about that because that's not the side that's actually being seen. So another thing, you can go in with a lining if you prefer a much neater look. So just 2 times, and then get the next sequin and place it. You're going to go in to the back and then out through where you want to place your next sequin, just like that. Just find the best way to attach these, by the way. I don't have like a specific formula, but I'm just going with the flow. Okay. So let me attach my next one. Okay. So I have 3 here, and then I'll attach my next on 2, 1 row below, along the top of the next row, after the one below the sequins. So that's how I'm going to place mine. Just do whatever you feel like when it comes to the placement. I'm not going to dictate. Everyone has a vision of how they want their top to look like, and for me, this is what I'm going for. Okay. You can place as many sequins, by the way, as many as you wish. So you can see as I go on to attach, I become more familiar with the placement and with the attaching system, and I become much faster with it than what I was doing before. So alright, so this is what we have. I'm going to go ahead and keep placing the sequins at random spots. Maybe I'll come back and fill in these gaps a little bit, but for now I'm going to just follow the same exact process that I did for the different rows. I feel like if I follow this, it's going to have sequins that are flowing in a line, which I may not necessarily want. So I'm going to continue to attach randomly, and then we shall see the outcome. Alright guys, this is the progress of our top. I feel like the sequins are almost evenly spaced out, which I didn't plan for, but that's okay. I just want to get the best look possible. I don't know if I'll fill in the gaps later on, but I feel like if I do, then it's going to just create something messy. So it's better we go with the organized version of it. So this is what one side looks like. I'm done with only one side, and then I'm going to finish up at the base. I think 1 or 2 more rows of the sequins, and then I'll cross over to the opposite side, and we also work on this side the same exact way that we've done this one. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and if you're going to give it a try to attach some sequins or some sort of accessories to your top. This is Screaming Festival, and yeah, I think I'm loving the way it's coming out. So let's go ahead and finish up, and I'll show you the final look once I am through. Alright guys, we are through with attaching some sequins on both the cups. I decided to throw in a few sequins when it comes to the mesh pattern. I've just thrown in about 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, but you can even throw in more depending on your desired design. So this is what we have. Okay, I feel like this side has worked out better than this side, but that's not the point. At least we have sequins on both sides. And let's see the final look of our top. Guys, don't forget to check out the written pattern and let me know down in the comment section if you loved working this design. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.